Chosen one, this message didn't find you by accident. This is divine alignment. You were guided here for a reason. There's something about you that the world can't quite explain. You're not supposed to be here. Not in the way you are. Not with the strength you carry. Not after everything you've been through. But here you are, still standing, still rising, still becoming. You are the evidence. Living, breathing, undeniable proof that miracles are real. Not the kind you read about in a storybook or hear in a sermon, but the kind that walks into a room and shifts the atmosphere. The kind that came out of the fire without the smell of smoke. The kind that people doubted, buried and wrote off, only to watch rise again, stronger, wiser, and glowing with grace. Your life is not random. It's divinely orchestrated. You've survived things that should have destroyed you. And now, the very battle that tried to break you is the testimony that proves the power of God is still active. Let's break it down. 7 undeniable signs that you, chosen one, are walking proof that miracles still happen. Before we dive in, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, because this is a message every chosen one needs to hear. If you feel the power of this message resonating with you, drop the number 77 in the comments. This isn't just a number. It's a powerful signal to the universe that you're aligned with divine truth and ready to claim the blessing that's rightfully yours. Only those who are truly chosen will stay until the end, and those who do will unlock deeper understanding, sharpen their spiritual awareness, and claim the blessings hidden within this message. And remember, this is knowledge that unfolds layer by layer. Rewatch this video as many times as you need to align your mind, body, and spirit with the truth being revealed. Each time you return, you'll notice something new, something vital that you may have missed the first time. Let's begin. Chapter 1. You should have broken, but you didn't. Let's not sugarcoat it. Your story is not light work. You've been through things most people wouldn't survive. Storms that weren't just circumstantial, they were spiritual. Battles that attacked your mind, your identity, your worth. People don't realize you've been fighting off darkness since you were young. They don't see the silent nights where you questioned if you had any strength left to keep going. You've been betrayed by people you would have taken a bullet for. You've had moments where life knocked the breath out of you, where you sat in silence wondering, why me? Not because you were weak, but because you had already been so strong for so long. And yet, you're still here. You didn't break. You didn't fold under the pressure. You didn't let your trauma define you. You didn't let bitterness consume you. And even when you had every reason to shut down, to close your heart, to give up on people, to give up on yourself, you kept going. That is not willpower. That is purpose. You see, people often think miracles look like instant breakthroughs, but real miracles, they often show up in the form of endurance, in the form of quiet strength, in the form of someone like you, who kept walking with bleeding feet, who kept praying with a breaking heart, who kept loving even when the world gave them every reason to harden. That's the kind of miracle most overlook. But heaven never does. God's hand was on you the whole time, even when you couldn't feel it, even when you screamed into the void and heard nothing back, even when you wanted to disappear but found yourself waking up to fight another day. You didn't just survive, you evolved. Every loss carved wisdom into your spirit. Every heartbreak taught you what love is not. Every detour shaped your discernment. You didn't walk out of the fire empty. You came out with revelation. You are not who you used to be. You've shed layers of pain, fear, and self-doubt. And now, even your silence carries power. Even your presence speaks. You walk differently, not because life got easier, but because your spirit got stronger. You should have broken. But God said, not this one. Because He's not done with you. He's just getting started. And the next time someone asks you how you made it through, you won't need to preach a sermon. You won't need to explain or prove yourself. You'll just exist. And your existence will be the sermon. Your survival will be the testimony. Your healing will be the loudest praise of all. Chosen one, you are living proof that resilience is holy. You are the embodiment of divine protection. You are walking evidence that what was meant to break you actually built you. And the story that nearly ended you, it will be the very story that elevates you. Chapter 2. You lost everything and still found purpose. There were moments when it felt like everything was falling apart all at once. One by one, the people you counted on left. The plans you made unraveled. The things you prayed would last slipped right through your fingers. You watched what you thought was solid ground turn into quicksand. And for a while, you couldn't understand why God would let it all collapse like that. You lost what you thought you couldn't live without. People who were your world. Positions you worked hard for. Places you called home. Seasons that felt like your identity. And when those things disappeared, you were left asking, what's left of me now? It was hard to see it then, but the breaking wasn't the end. It was the beginning. What felt like a loss was actually a rescue. What felt like abandonment was actually redirection. God wasn't trying to hurt you. He was trying to bring you back to you, to the version of you that didn't rely on approval, status, or certainty, to the version of you that's rooted in purpose, not performance. And in the silence, when you were left with nothing but your breath and your broken pieces, something sacred happened. You found out you could still hear God. You found out you could still feel love. You found out you still had a reason to wake up in the morning, even if you didn't know what the day would bring. That's purpose. That's the miracle most people miss. Because purpose isn't always loud. Sometimes it shows up in the quiet moments, when you realize that everything that left you was never bigger than the power that lives inside you. You started to rebuild, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. You stopped chasing the world's definition of success. You stopped fighting to hold together what was clearly falling apart. And for the first time in a long time, you started becoming real. You started living from your soul instead of your scars. You began to understand that purpose isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about walking in truth, even when you're walking alone. It's about choosing growth over comfort. It's about turning pain into power and setbacks into strategy. You didn't find purpose in the spotlight. You found it in the shadows. You found it when no one was clapping, when no one was watching, when it was just you, your tears, and your God. And now, you move with intention. You speak with weight. You carry peace that confuses people who only saw your losses. Because what they didn't see was the transformation that happened when everything you clung to fell apart, and you discovered you were the gift all along. You lost the world and found your soul. You lost the fantasy and found the truth. You lost the plan and found the purpose. You didn't just come back. You came back clearer. You came back deeper. You came back with something eternal. And no one can take that from you. Chapter 3. You were the black sheep, but now you lead the flock. You didn't ask to be different. It just happened. From a young age, you noticed things others ignored. You felt deeply when others seemed numb. You questioned what everyone else blindly accepted. You carried a level of awareness, sensitivity, and inner depth that made you stand out, and not in the way people celebrated. They labeled you the black sheep, the weirdo, the one who couldn't just be normal. You were the one always doing too much, thinking too deeply, or feeling too strongly. They couldn't understand you, so they rejected you. And for a long time, that rejection hurt. You internalized it. You tried to shrink yourself, mute your voice, blend in. But no matter how hard you tried, your spirit just wouldn't let you disappear. Because you were never meant to fit in. You were designed to stand out. While others were conforming, you were being called. While they were copying, you were becoming. And it wasn't easy. Being the black sheep comes with loneliness. You sat at tables where you were physically present, but spiritually invisible. You showed up for people who never saw you clearly. You gave your heart to places that didn't have the capacity to honor it. And yet, you didn't lose yourself. You endured the misunderstanding. You carried the weight of being the odd one out. You kept going, even when it seemed like no one cared to understand what you were really carrying inside. That's strength. That's purpose in motion. And now, everything is different. The same ones who laughed at you are watching you from a distance. The same people who said you were too much now silently admire how deeply you live, how strong you've become, how true you've stayed. Some of them are even coming back, not to mock, but to learn, not to control, but to receive. You didn't chase their validation. You didn't try to prove yourself. You just kept growing, kept evolving, kept healing, kept aligning yourself with something higher. And now, without seeking a platform, you've become a pillar. People feel peace when they're near you. They feel safety in your presence. They trust your insight because they see the weight of what you've survived. That's leadership, real leadership. It didn't come with titles or applause. It came through fire, through silence, through rejection, through resilience. And because you've led yourself through the darkest valleys, now you have the authority to lead others, not by force, but by example. You don't lead with ego. You lead with empathy. You don't lead to be seen. You lead to serve. And this transition, this shift from outcast to leader, it's not random. It's divine. It's what happens when someone stays true to who they are, even when no one claps, even when no one agrees, even when every voice says, "You're wrong for being different." God flipped the script. He used your isolation to give you revelation. He used your rejection as refinement. And now, you carry wisdom beyond your years. You walk with a kind of knowing that can't be taught in school or learned in a book. It was earned, in tears, in silence, in the trenches. And here's what's beautiful. You don't carry bitterness. You're not out for revenge. You don't look at the people who hurt you and wish them harm. You actually bless them. Because you understand now, they didn't break you. They revealed you. Their misunderstanding was the mirror that showed you how rare you really are. So yes, you were the black sheep, but not because you were flawed, because you were marked, chosen, set apart. And now, you're not following the crowd. You're guiding it. You're not echoing opinions. You're speaking truth. You're not bending to fit. You're standing to lead. Chapter 4. You felt alone, but never abandoned. There were seasons when the silence was deafening, moments when it felt like the whole world moved on without you. Friends who once swore they'd never leave suddenly disappeared. Family who was supposed to understand looked at you like a stranger. Opportunities that once felt certain dried up without warning. And in the middle of it all, you stood, confused, hurt, wondering what you did to deserve the isolation. You looked around, and there was no one, no support system, no one to call, no one to really get it. You could be surrounded by people and still feel invisible, smiling in public, crying in private, laughing on the outside, aching on the inside. You told yourself to stay strong, but the weight on your chest felt heavier by the day. You asked God, why? Why so many people left? Why you always felt misunderstood? Why no one checked in? Why your heart felt full of love, but your hands felt so empty? You weren't just dealing with loneliness. You were battling the lie that you were unworthy of love, undeserving of support, unimportant to the world. But let's pause right here, because despite how lonely you felt, the truth is, you were never truly alone. Look back. Really look. Think about the moments when you should have broken down but somehow held on. The nights when you cried but woke up with just enough strength to keep going. The days when you didn't know where your next ounce of hope would come from, and then a verse, a stranger's words, or a sudden inner peace found you. That wasn't coincidence. That wasn't luck. That was God. His presence didn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it came in stillness, in silence, in a whisper that echoed in your soul, reminding you, I'm here. He didn't shout, but he shielded. He didn't show up the way you expected, but he never left your side. The miracle wasn't loud, it was protective. See, sometimes God removes people so he can be your only source. So you'll stop depending on voices that aren't aligned with your destiny. So he can detox your soul from the noise and teach you how to recognize his whisper. It was in the silence that you learned to trust the unseen. It was in the emptiness that you discovered divine fullness. While everyone else walked away, he stayed close. While others forgot you, he chose you. And even when you couldn't feel him, he was fighting battles you didn't even know existed. Behind the scenes, in the spiritual realm, covering you when you were too tired to pray for yourself. You weren't being punished, you were being prepared. Prepared to walk in power. Prepared to carry something too sacred for the crowd. You see, God often hides what he values most. He doesn't expose diamonds in the dirt. He hides them, shapes them, refines them. So when the time comes to reveal them, the world sees glory. Your isolation was divine insulation. Your loneliness was sacred training. And now, you're stronger, wiser, more connected to your source than you've ever been. You no longer fear solitude because you've learned what most people never do: how to be held by God when no one else is around. That's power the world can't give and can't take away. So the next time you feel alone, remind yourself you're not. You've been walked through fire and didn't get burned. You've been in the valley and still found vision. That's not weakness. That's evidence. God didn't abandon you. He anointed you. He didn't forget you. He formed you. Chapter 5. You've healed from what wasn't your fault. There's a kind of healing that doesn't get applause. No grand celebrations, no social media shout-outs, no spotlight moments. But make no mistake, this healing is one of the most powerful miracles you can experience. You healed, and not just in the ways people see on the surface. This was the kind of healing that reached into the core of your being, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, touching the places no one else could. Healing from pain that you didn't deserve, from trauma that was never your fault, from wounds inflicted by careless words, broken promises, and toxic environments that told you you weren't enough. You've carried heavy burdens, ones passed down through generations like invisible chains. Patterns of shame, fear, anger, and insecurity were handed to you like a legacy you never asked for. But instead of letting those old curses define your future, you chose to break them. That required courage, real courage. You looked inside and saw the scars no one else could see. You didn't run from them. You didn't cover them with a mask or pretend they didn't exist. You sat with the pain, sometimes for hours, sometimes for days, sometimes for years. You faced memories that haunted you. You faced truths that hurt more than you expected. You faced the darkest parts of your past with raw honesty. And in that process, you found freedom. You made peace with your past so it wouldn't keep stealing your present. You forgave people who never apologized, not for their sake, but for yours. You stopped blaming yourself for things beyond your control. You reclaimed your worth, even when the world tried to convince you otherwise. Healing didn't happen overnight. It wasn't linear. You had good days and bad days, moments of hope followed by moments of despair. But you kept showing up for yourself. You refused to settle for being broken. You refused to let old wounds write the rest of your story. And the results? They're visible now. You're not the same person who once carried that pain like a heavy cloak. You're lighter, stronger, more compassionate. You've replaced bitterness with grace. You've swapped resentment for understanding. You've traded fear for faith. You've become gentle with yourself. Instead of harsh self-judgment, you offer kindness and patience. You understand that healing is a journey, not a destination. And because you've experienced that kind of love for yourself, you're able to extend it to others in ways you never thought possible. This isn't just growth, it's grace in motion. You're proof that healing is possible even when the odds were stacked against you. That scars don't have to be symbols of weakness, but marks of survival and strength. That the pain you endured was not wasted. It was a gateway to the person you are becoming. The miracle isn't just that you survived what wasn't your fault. The miracle is that you've thrived. Despite it, you've rewritten your story from victim to victor. You've turned wounds into wisdom. You've transformed pain into purpose. And now, you walk forward, not carrying the weight of your past, but carrying the light of your healing. That kind of healing, that's holy. And it's just the beginning. Chapter 6. You speak life, even when you're still healing. One of the most remarkable things about you is that you continue to pour out life, even when you yourself are still in the middle of your own healing process. You keep giving encouragement, hope, and love to those around you, even when your own heart feels heavy and your spirit is weary. You show up for others with a smile, with open arms, with listening ears, even though inside you're wrestling with your own battles that no one sees. You offer strength to people who need it, while quietly praying for your own strength to be renewed. This ability to love, to inspire, to lead from a wounded place is a rare and divine gift. It's not something that happens by accident. It's not something that can be learned in a book or taught in a classroom. It's spiritual strength, a resilience that comes from a deep connection to God, a heart that refuses to be hardened by pain, and a soul that chooses hope over despair. Many people don't understand this kind of strength. They think healing means you have to be fully fixed before you can help anyone else. But you know better. You know that sometimes the greatest light shines from the most broken places. That even when you're still working through your own scars, your voice can be the one that brings comfort and healing to someone else's wounds. You speak life even when your own words feel fragile. You encourage others even when you're still learning how to encourage yourself. You give grace when you're still learning to give grace to your own heart. And heaven sees all of it. God watches every late-night prayer you whisper for someone else. He notices every kind word you speak when your own soul feels heavy. He honors the sacrifices you make to be a blessing to others while you're still in the process of being healed. Every time you choose to speak love instead of bitterness, every time you choose to offer hope instead of despair, you're planting seeds. Seeds that will grow, multiply, and bless more lives than you can imagine. That's the quiet miracle of your life. It's not always visible on the surface. It doesn't always come with fanfare. But it's real. It's powerful. It's transformative. You are living proof that miracles don't always roar. Sometimes they whisper through acts of kindness wrapped in pain. Sometimes they shine through strength that doesn't need to be loud. Sometimes they bloom in love that knows no limits, even when the gardener is still healing. You're proof that the human heart can be both fragile and fierce, that brokenness can coexist with beauty, that healing is not a prerequisite for loving. It's a journey that can happen alongside love. So keep speaking life, keep shining your light, keep loving fiercely, even in your season of healing, because the world needs your kind of miracle, and you, dear chosen one, are living it every day. Chapter 7. You are becoming what you once prayed for. Take a moment and let this truth settle deep inside your spirit. You are already becoming the miracle you once desperately prayed for. The peace that felt so far away, it's quietly taking root inside you, growing stronger day by day. It's no longer just a wish whispered in the dark. It's becoming the calm that steadies your soul in the storm. That restless heart that once longed for stability. The foundation beneath your feet is firming up, bit by bit, holding you in place with a strength you didn't have before. The love you once dreamed of, the kind of love that doesn't hurt, doesn't abandon, doesn't fade, is beginning to bloom within your own heart. Not just from others, but from the deep well of love God is filling you with, teaching you to first love yourself fully and without apology. And the clarity you craved, it's awakening inside your mind, helping you see the path ahead with new eyes, clear of confusion and doubt. Remember the version of you who once felt broken, lost, rejected, or unseen. That person was not the end of your story. They were the seedbed for this new, risen you, the healed you, the strong, aware, and ascending you who stands taller today. That version carried pain and sorrow, yes, but from that pain came transformation. From that brokenness came birth. God didn't just pull you out of the darkness, He brought you through the fire and the rain. He didn't stop at rescue. He's shaping you into something greater, something powerful, something destined for more. And here's the most beautiful part. He's not finished yet. The life you once prayed for, the life that seemed distant, almost impossible, is already being woven together, slowly, deliberately, like a masterpiece coming into focus. The opportunities, the peace, the love, the breakthroughs, they are all forming beneath the surface, unseen by many, but undeniable to you. When this season fully blossoms, when the prayers you whispered in your darkest moments become the reality you walk in daily, the world will be forced to take notice. Not because you shouted it from the rooftops, but because your very presence will be a testimony, a living, breathing miracle. You won't just tell stories about God's power, you will embody it. Your life will be the undeniable proof that miracles are real, that divine timing is perfect, and that God's plans are always worth the wait. So stand firm in this truth. You are not a victim of your past. You are the victor of your journey. You are not defined by your scars, but by the strength they birthed. You are not waiting for a miracle. You are the miracle. Keep believing. Keep trusting. Keep walking forward, because what's coming is greater than what you left behind. The miracle you prayed for is not just coming. It's already here. And it's found its home in you.